This is the democratic voice of Burma. Welcome to DVB English News. I'm Joe. In this week's headlines, the ASEAN Secretary General and Special Envoy are in Naypyidaw. Resistance groups are in Japan. The National Unity Government blames the military for rising tension in Arakan State. Also, a report on Russian drones being deployed on the battlefield. And a new podcast addressing frontline ethics in Myanmar. The Association of Southeast Asian Nations Secretary General Kau Kim Hoon and Special Envoy Alan Kau Kitikun met with Minonline in Naypyidaw on Wednesday. Regime media reported that the three discussed Myanmar's relationship with ASEAN, as well as the delivery of humanitarian aid to internally displaced persons. Minonline reportedly spoke about implementing a multi-party democracy, following his military coup 3 years ago. Laos assumed the ASEAN chairmanship in January. Its first act was to appoint Alan Kau Kitikun to the role of Special Envoy for Myanmar. He reportedly met with representatives from the National Unity Government and ethnic armed organizations in mid-January. A press conference to discuss a future federal democratic Myanmar was held in Tokyo, Japan on Wednesday. In attendance were Zawei So, the NUG Health and Education Minister, Salai Tlahe, the General Secretary of the Chin National Front, as well as Saw Nimrod from the Karen National Union, and Louise from the Karenni National Progressive Party. Salai Tlahe requested assistance from Tokyo for civilians displaced from their homes, due to fighting between resistance forces and the military. The UN states that there are nearly 2.9 million IDPs in Myanmar. Zawei So called on Japan to provide cross-border humanitarian aid via resistance groups. Japan's Parliamentary Vice Minister Komura Masahiro met with leaders of the KNU and KNPP on Tuesday. The NUG Minister of Human Rights, Aum Myo Min, spoke to DVB. He laid the blame for rising tensions between the ethnic Rakhine and Rohingya communities in Arakan State solely on the military and not the Arakan army.
Military is the one who's masterminding this kind of thing. So that kind of tension based on the ethnicity, based on the religion, has been emerging. They have no principle of truth. They will give whatever they want to prolong their power.
That was Aum Myo Min, the NUG Minister of Human Rights. In March, the military was accused of staging Rohingya protests against the AA. In a social media post, the AA Commander-in-Chief Tuan Rat 9 referred to Rohingya as Bengali, which is considered a slur. UN Human Rights Chief Volker Turk warned that escalating tensions may lead to civilian deaths in Arakan State. Next up, DVB English News reporter Salman Thain tells us about drones from Russia being used by the regime in Myanmar.
The military has deployed Russian Ariane 2 unmanned aerial vehicles and drones. They were purchased in Russia on May 9 to be used on the battlefield, according to regime media. The military's director of procurement traveled to Russia to bolster the regime drone capability from May 1 to 5. A source from the military spoke to DVB on the condition of anonymity. He said that drone training was provided at Air Force bases. The regime purchased drones and anti-drone weapons to be used against resistant forces. A source in the Air Force spoke to DVB on the condition of anonymity. He said that a meeting was held at the Air Force headquarters to distribute the UAVs and drones to the battlefield. According to military sources, Russia, China and India have been providing drone training to military personnel. DVB has been unable to independently verify this. Last month, the military deployed CA-4 UAVs from China, which were identified by Karen resistance forces during fighting in Myawaddy. For DVB English News, I'm Salman Thain.
And finally, a new podcast called Frontline Ethics addresses the lack of resources on international humanitarian law available in the Burmese language. Its creator Ninthat Mukin spoke to DVB.
The theme of the podcast is called Not a Target. It means civilians are not a target, humanitarians are not a target, medical personnel are not a target, journalists are not a target, but also to highlight that the military is committing those crimes.
That was Ninthat Mukin, creator of the Frontline Ethics podcast. And that's it for this week's headlines. I'm Joe. Stay tuned to DVB English News on X, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Find us on YouTube Music or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening.